Looking back on that sweltering summer day, I can still feel the oppressive heat that hung over our modest kitchen. I was moving efficiently around the kitchen, preparing lunch, though my heart was heavy with worries that I couldn't quite hide. My mother, Cindy, was leaning against the doorframe, watching me with a mixture of love and concern that only a mother could express. I tried to sound cheerful as I told her lunch would be ready soon, masking the tremor of anxiety in my voice. Mom attempted to keep the conversation light, commenting on how good everything smelled, but I could sense the shadow of worry that never seemed to leave her these days. As I placed the pot on the stove with a deep sigh, I finally gathered the courage to voice what had been weighing on my mind. "Mom," I began hesitantly, my hands fidgeting with the kitchen towel, "Dad's medication costs have gone up again this month." I explained that my cafe job wouldn't be enough anymore, that I'd need to look for different work to cover our living expenses. The pain that flashed across my mother's face felt like a knife through my heart. Her voice cracked with guilt and sadness as she apologized for placing such a burden on my young shoulders. I turned to face her, fighting back tears while trying to project strength through my determined gaze. I told her not to think that way, reminding her that she was already doing so much taking care of Dad. My voice may have trembled, but my words carried the weight of my conviction. Trying to shift the conversation, I asked about Dad's condition. Mom settled into our old wooden kitchen chair, sharing the latest update from the doctor. She explained that while the tumor hadn't grown, thank God for small mercies, there was still the risk of it spreading. The treatment was essential, she continued, and if we could keep it up, the medication might shrink the tumor enough for surgery to become an option. The word surgery hung in the air like a distant promise, painted with equal strokes of hope and despair. But then reality crashed back as Mom voiced what we both knew: we simply couldn't afford it. I swallowed hard as Mom mentioned the cost of brain surgery, feeling a tear slowly trace its way down my cheek. My voice was thick with emotion as I promised her I would work harder, explaining that even though I loved my cafe job, I needed to find something that paid better. It wasn't just a simple promise, it was my silent vow, a battle cry for Dad's health and future. The next morning, I arrived early at the cafe, where the gentle swish of cloth against counters and the soft scraping of chairs created the familiar morning symphony I had grown to love. As I wiped down the counter, I confided in my coworker Evelyn, my voice heavy with resignation as I told her I might need to look for different work. I could see the concern etching itself across Evelyn's face as she paused her work, asking me why I would leave a job I loved so much. The weight of my situation pressed down on me as I sighed, staring at the floor before meeting her sympathetic gaze. I explained how my father's brain tumor had left him unable to work, and my mother needed to stay home to care for him. The burden of being the sole breadwinner showed in my slumped shoulders as I admitted that my cafe wages just weren't enough anymore. Evelyn bit her lip as she processed my words, asking gently if I was really supporting the entire household by myself. All I could do was nod, feeling the full weight of responsibility bearing down on my shoulders like a heavy winter coat. Her eyes suddenly lit up with an idea, reminding me of how my mother's eyes used to sparkle when she had good news to share. She told me about a job caring for a blind child in a mansion, explaining that the pay was excellent but there was a catch. The boy's stepmother was apparently quite difficult, having fired several caretakers already. Hope surged through me like a warm spring breeze as I listened, and I found myself sitting up straighter. I declared with newfound determination that I could handle any difficult situation for my parents' sake. The conviction in my voice must have moved Evelyn, because she smiled warmly and offered to give me the contact information. She wrapped me in a tight hug, the kind that reminds you you're not alone in your struggles. Evelyn's words touched my heart deeply as she expressed how much she would miss me at the cafe, assuring me that God would watch over my father. I squeezed her hand tightly, my voice thick with emotion as I thanked her for always lifting my spirits. My smile may have been small, but it carried the light of hope, strengthened by faith and friendship as I agreed to apply for the position. A few days after sending my resume, I received the call for an interview that would change my life. When I arrived at the address, I found myself standing before what looked like something straight out of a Hollywood movie, a mansion that seemed to touch the clouds. I couldn't help but whisper to myself that I'd never seen such a grand house, taking in the majestic facade, elegant windows, and meticulously maintained gardens leading to the entrance. It felt like stepping into another world entirely, as foreign to me as a distant planet. Inside, the grandeur only intensified, my footsteps echoing off polished marble floors as I walked past priceless artworks and luxury furnishings that screamed old money and sophistication. Then came the moment I met Monica, and I felt an immediate chill run down my spine. The woman before me exuded wealth and confidence, somehow managing to look down on the world even while seated. She introduced herself as Matthew's wife and Logan's stepmother, her voice as cold as a winter morning. I could feel her eyes examining me like a specimen under a microscope, filled not with curiosity but with judgment. My heart nearly stopped when she asked why someone like me would apply for this position, questioning my experience with children while describing Logan, her 11-year-old blind stepson, in a way that made my maternal instincts bristle. I kept my composure despite my racing heart, firmly stating my love for children and my experience as a babysitter. Monica studied me for what felt like an eternity before giving a slow, calculated nod. Then came the punch to the gut. She had concerns about my appearance. Her eyes raked over my modest clothing with the same disdain you might show a stain on expensive carpet. With a smile that could freeze hell itself, she explained that while Logan might be blind, others weren't, and she worried I might be mistaken for someone seeking handouts or worse, a thief. Monica's words about her husband Matthew being one of the country's most important businessmen fell on me like heavy stones. Though her words stung with humiliation, I remembered why I was really there, for my family. I surprised even myself with the strength in my voice as I assured her I would mind my appearance and do my best to make Logan comfortable. Monica agreed to hire me, but made it crystal clear that I would be on probation and under constant surveillance. One peaceful afternoon, Logan and I sat at the kitchen table, sharing a quiet moment as sunlight filtered through the curtains. He suddenly opened up to me about his life, telling me how he'd never known his real mother, who died giving birth to him, the same birth that left him blind. My heart ached as he explained how his father often spoke about his mother, describing what a wonderful person she had been. Logan told me, with a wisdom beyond his years, that even though he'd never met her, he could feel who she was through his father's love. I felt my throat tighten with emotion as I thanked him for sharing such personal memories, expressing how touched I was that his father kept his mother's memory alive for him. A small, sad smile crossed Logan's face as he nodded, acknowledging that while it was lonely, he felt lucky to have such a loving father who tried to fill the void his mother left. When I carefully asked about his relationship with his father and Monica, I made sure he knew it came from genuine care rather than mere curiosity. After a moment's hesitation, Logan opened up about his close relationship with his father, who he called his hero. But when it came to Monica, things were more complicated. Their relationship was strained since her recent marriage to his father. I nodded understanding, assuring him he didn't need to say more if he didn't want to, and expressing my admiration for his strength. Logan's grateful smile warmed my heart as he thanked me, telling me how my presence made him feel less lonely. Our conversation flowed naturally, revealing moments of honesty and vulnerability that touched me deeply. One day, returning from a neighborhood walk, I noticed another figure standing beside Monica, Logan's father, Matthew. Until that moment, I had only heard about Matthew, never having seen his face. There he stood in the spacious living room, impeccably dressed and radiating an elegance that seemed to belong to another world entirely. My heart skipped a beat when he approached me with a warm smile that stood in stark contrast to Monica's icy demeanor. He greeted me by name, telling me how Logan had spoken highly of me, his voice carrying a genuine warmth that touched my soul. The love between father and son was palpable as he embraced Logan, making my heart swell with emotion. Matthew expressed his joy at hearing how I treated Logan normally and spoke with him often, not making him feel different because of his blindness. I felt my cheeks flush at his praise, humbly explaining that I was just doing my job. Speaking from my heart, I told him how wise and sensitive Logan was for his age, and how much I was learning from him too. Monica, who had been watching from a distance, suddenly cut in with jealousy dripping from her voice. She reminded me sharply that I was still on probation, dismissing my connection with Logan as simple manipulation while asserting her authority as the lady of the house. I could feel the tension rising in my chest, but I maintained my composure, assuring her politely that I would continue to do my best. Matthew, sensing the awkwardness, gracefully changed the subject by asking about my reasons for wanting to work there. His genuine curiosity about me was touching, so different from Monica's suspicious scrutiny. I found myself opening up about my previous job at the cafe and my need for better pay to support my family. My voice wavered slightly as I explained about my sick father and my mother who cared for him. I added quickly that while I had loved my cafe job, I truly enjoyed my time with Logan. Matthew leaned forward with genuine concern, expressing his sympathy for my family's situation and praising my strength and determination. I couldn't help but notice Monica's face twist into a look of contempt, her eyes widening to make sure I saw her disapproval. The next morning, the moment I stepped through the mansion's door, I could feel the atmosphere had changed, heavy and tense, like the air before a storm. Monica launched her attack immediately, her critical eyes scanning my outfit like a customs officer inspecting contraband. Her sharp voice cut through the air as she reminded me of our previous discussion about appropriate attire. I felt my cheeks burn with shame as I shrunk under her scrutiny, my voice trembling as I apologized for not meeting her expectations. Then came the real blow. Monica confronted me about my conversations with Logan, demanding to know why I was asking about their private life, their relationships, and how long she'd been married to Matthew. Her accusation of my interference in their family life caught me completely off guard. I tried desperately to explain that I only wanted to understand Logan better to help him, but Monica wouldn't let me finish. She lashed out, warning me that employees sometimes forgot their place when they spent too much time with the family. With growing anger, she ordered me not to ask Logan any personal questions, dismissing him as a problem child who talked too much. Her words grew more venomous as she reminded me of my sick father and family obligations. Monica's threat was clear as crystal. I needed to focus on my own pathetic life and stop getting involved with her family, or I might lose this well-paying job. She made sure I understood that she alone held the power to make that decision, not her kind husband or the troublesome child. I felt tears welling up in my eyes as one silently traced its way down my cheek. Her words had cut deeper than I'd expected, leaving me feeling terrified and vulnerable. My voice was barely a whisper as I apologized and promised to focus solely on my job, reminding her how important this position was for my family. In the back of my mind, I couldn't help but wonder how Monica knew about my conversations with Logan, as I couldn't imagine him telling her. That afternoon, as Logan and I walked to the park, Monica's words weighed heavily on my mind. The tension I felt was almost physical, following each step with fear and indignation. Logan walked beside me, holding my arm and following my footsteps, completely unaware of the turmoil in my heart. I felt an urgent need to clear the air, and carefully brought up our previous conversation about his family. When I asked if he remembered discussing his father and Monica, my voice trembled with anxiety about his response. Logan stopped walking, his face showing confusion as he confirmed that he remembered, asking why I was bringing it up. I took a deep breath, carefully choosing my words as I tried to explain that my questions had come from a place of genuine care and desire to understand him better. The sincerity in my voice must have reached him, because Logan's soft smile told me he understood. He assured me that he had enjoyed our talks and had never felt my questions were inappropriate, though he wondered why I was bringing this up now. Fighting back my anxiety, I confided in him about Monica's threats regarding our conversations and her warning about my job security. Logan's face transformed with a mixture of surprise and anger as he revealed something that made my blood run cold. The house was filled with hidden cameras. He explained that while Monica claimed they were for security, he believed she used them for her schemes. With a voice heavy with disappointment, Logan opened up about how he'd been hesitant to discuss Monica because he feared repercussions. He trusted me completely, he said, before revealing how Monica treated him like an invalid or mentally unstable person whenever his father wasn't around, all because he was born blind. His confession painted a vivid picture of what really happened in this house when Matthew was away. Logan sighed deeply as he shared his belief that Monica didn't truly love his father, suggesting she was only interested in the wealthy lifestyle the marriage provided. He explained that his father, still grief-stricken from losing his first wife, probably stayed with Monica out of fear of being alone. The pain in his voice was unmistakable as he described how cleverly Monica played her role, acting kind to him in front of his father while being cruel behind closed doors. As I absorbed every word, the pieces of the puzzle finally fell into place. I found myself understanding that Monica's behavior likely stemmed from her own deep-seated insecurities and inability to trust others. My heart ached for Matthew, such a kind man caught in this situation. We shared a moment of silence, both feeling the weight of Matthew and Logan's predicament. Trying to lighten the mood, Logan suddenly broke into a playful smile and made a bold suggestion: if his father ever divorced Monica, he should marry me instead. His words, half joking and half serious, caught me completely off guard. I quickly hushed Logan's playful suggestion, warning him that if Monica heard such talk, I'd lose my job in an instant. The fear in my chest was real, knowing how Monica's power in this house could turn even the smallest suspicion against me. As I reflected on her behavior, I realized that Monica seemed jealous of even the simple friendship between Logan and me, as if any genuine connection was a threat in her world. When we returned from our walk, the tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Monica was waiting for us, her face a storm cloud of anger. She immediately lashed out, criticizing us for being late and sarcastically questioning why a blind child needed to go to the park at all when we could just talk inside. Her words hit me like a physical blow, making me shrink back instinctively as if trying to dodge a storm. My voice trembled as I apologized, promising to be more mindful of time in the future. The words tumbled out quickly, desperate to appease the anger I could feel radiating from her. I wanted nothing more than to avoid a confrontation I knew I couldn't win. But Logan surprised us all by refusing to let Monica's attack go unchallenged. With a courage that took my breath away, he stood up to her directly. He declared firmly that I had nothing to apologize for, reminding everyone that his father, not Monica, paid my salary. Logan faced Monica head-on, his determination shocking everyone present. He defended me passionately, explaining that he was the one who had wanted to stay out longer, and that Monica was wrong. His voice carried both accusation and disappointment, challenging Monica's authority in the house for the first time. Monica's reaction to Logan's defense of me shifted from initial shock to intense irritation. She turned her venomous gaze on me, suggesting that I must be a bad influence since Logan had never talked back to her before. I felt her accusing stare burning into me as I placed a gentle hand on Logan's shoulder, a quiet gesture trying to calm the situation. I knew prolonging this confrontation would only lead to more trouble, but fate had other plans for us. One peaceful afternoon, Logan and I were sharing jokes in the mansion's garden, our laughter mingling with the whispering leaves in a moment of pure joy. Matthew's unexpected appearance, his face wreathed in smiles of surprise and contentment, added warmth to the already pleasant scene. His words touched my heart as he commented on how happy we looked together, telling me I was the best sitter they'd ever had. My cheeks flushed with emotion when he noted the maternal quality in my care for Logan, recognizing the special bond that had formed between us. Logan seized the moment to sing my praises, his enthusiasm making my heart swell with both joy and embarrassment. I could barely contain my emotions as I thanked them, expressing how happy I was to spend time with Logan. Then Matthew, caught up in the warmth of the moment, extended an unexpected dinner invitation as a token of his gratitude. Logan's excitement was infectious as he eagerly seconded his father's invitation, clearly thrilled at the prospect of sharing more time together. Despite their warm invitation and Logan's obvious joy, I felt a knot of anxiety forming in my stomach. My mind immediately went to Monica's potential reaction to this sudden change in household dynamics. Yet I couldn't bear to disappoint Matthew and Logan, so I accepted the invitation with a mixture of happiness and trepidation. The words of acceptance came out of my mouth carrying both the joy of inclusion and the fear of consequences. Just as I'd feared, when we returned to the house and Matthew informed Monica of the dinner invitation, her face darkened like storm clouds gathering on the horizon. I watched the shift in her expression, my instincts telling me this simple dinner invitation would come at a much higher price than anyone anticipated. This is going to cost me dearly, I thought to myself, worried about how this would upset the delicate balance I'd been trying to maintain. The next day at lunch, the mansion's kitchen maintained its usual calm, but only for a moment. Monica's sudden appearance shattered the peace like a stone through glass, her demeanor radiating a level of hostility I'd never experienced before. Without any preamble, she stood beside me and launched into a venomous attack, questioning who I thought I was to intrude on family dinners. Her words struck me like physical blows as she accused me of trying to seduce her husband, sneering that my friendship with that noisy brat wasn't enough for me. My voice trembled as I tried to defend myself, to explain that I'd never harbored such thoughts, but the words caught in my throat. Monica's hostility filled the air like poison gas, making it impossible for my weak protests to be heard. She continued her assault, cruelly reminding me that my family depended on this job, then twisted the knife by pointing out that one plate from the previous night's dinner cost more than a year's worth of my father's medication. Her casual mention of my father's mortality brought tears to my eyes. She might as well have physically struck me. My voice cracked with emotion as I begged her not to speak about my family that way, telling her they meant everything to me. But Monica was relentless, her voice dropping to an icy whisper as she threatened to fire me immediately. The prospect of losing this job sent waves of panic through my body. It would be catastrophic for my family. Tears streaming down my face, I found myself pleading with her, promising to do whatever she wanted because I desperately needed this position. The tension between us reached a breaking point as Monica decided to test my submission to her rules. Her voice dripped with mockery as she told me she didn't believe my words, that she needed more concrete proof that I understood the distance between us. With cruel deliberation, she declared that I had been presumptuous to think I could sit at the same table as her, and roughly grabbed my plate. With cruel satisfaction, Monica placed my plate next to the dog's bowl, telling me that was where I belonged from then on. Her inhuman demand was crystal clear. If I wanted to keep my job, I had to prove my understanding of my place by eating there. I stared at her in disbelief, asking if she was joking about making me eat without even utensils, my voice a mixture of desperate hope and shocked realization. Monica just laughed, coldly stating that she didn't care. I could either eat there or lose my job, leaving my father without medicine and my mother without food. Through my tears, I made the heart-wrenching decision to endure this humiliation for my family's sake. Every movement felt like a knife in my heart as I knelt beside the dog's bowl, each bite a reminder of the dignity I was sacrificing for those I loved. Monica walked past me with a triumphant smirk, declaring this was my rightful place and that I truly understood my position. Her actions that day did more than just wound my pride, they shook the very foundation of that household. On my way home, my heart felt as heavy as a stone in my chest. When I saw Dad sitting on our worn sofa, with Mom by his side as always, the walls I built around my emotions finally crumbled. I broke down completely, releasing a wordless cry of pain that had been building all day. Mom rushed to embrace me while Dad, though unable to stand quickly, immediately sensed my distress. His simple question, asking what was wrong, carried the weight of a father's endless love and concern. Through my streaming tears, I struggled to share my pain with them. My voice trembled as I tried to explain how I'd endured it all for them, how Monica had forced me to eat next to the dog's bowl. As I recounted the day's cruel events, each word felt like reliving the humiliation all over again. I could see the tears in my parents' eyes as they shared my pain, their hearts breaking with mine. Dad's face twisted with anger and helplessness as he heard about my humiliation, fighting against his own physical limitations as he asked me to sit beside him. As he embraced me, his own tears falling, he told me with fierce love that I was too kind, that I didn't need to endure such treatment for their sake. His voice broke as he insisted I quit immediately, saying he'd rather go without medicine than see me suffer such indignities. Through my tears, I felt a surge of strength knowing my family supported me unconditionally. I agreed to quit, telling Dad I would say goodbye to Logan the next day and look for another job. The following morning, walking into the mansion sent chills down my spine as memories of Monica's cruelty flooded back. When I faced Logan, my emotions overwhelmed me, and our embrace spoke volumes about the bond we'd formed through our shared struggles. My voice trembled as I began to say goodbye, telling him how special and wise he was, and that no one should ever make him feel worthless. I tried to maintain composure as I continued, explaining how much I'd enjoyed our time together but that I needed to find another job. I carefully avoided mentioning the real reason for my departure, not wanting to cause him more pain. Logan's face showed a mix of understanding and desperation as he confessed, through tears, that he had heard everything Monica had done to me. My heart broke as he begged me not to leave, telling me I was like a mother to him and promising to tell his father everything. Through my own tears, I tried to ease his guilt, assuring him that as a child, he wasn't responsible for Monica's actions. I pleaded with him not to tell his father, convinced no one would believe such a story. But Logan had already made up his mind, his determination shining through his tears. Logan reminded me about the surveillance cameras throughout the house, his voice filled with both pain and hope for justice. He called out to his father, his voice carrying the weight of urgent truth that needed to be told. Matthew and Monica rushed in from their breakfast, only to find Logan in tears, his face telling a story of deep distress. My heart pounded as Logan began his revelation, telling his father about Monica's cruelty and how she had forced me to eat beside the dog's bowl out of jealousy over a simple dinner invitation. I watched as Matthew's face darkened while he listened to his son's words, his eyes shifting to Monica's face. Monica maintained her composure, quickly denying everything and trying to blame me for manipulating Logan. But Logan stood his ground, reminding his father about the security cameras that could prove everything. My hands trembled as I nodded in confirmation of Logan's words, unable to speak through my tears. Matthew's face set in determination as he announced we would check the security room immediately. The tension in the video room was thick enough to cut with a knife as Matthew's slightly shaking hands entered the security system password. As the previous day's footage played out on the screen, Monica's actions were displayed in undeniable clarity. I could see Matthew's face turn ashen as he watched me being humiliated, forced to kneel beside the dog's bowl. He looked physically ill, barely able to stand as he witnessed the truth about his wife's cruelty. I heard him whisper to himself, questioning how he could have been so blind, declaring that Monica wasn't even human. The gravity of the situation seemed to hit him in waves as he processed not only my pain but the toxic influence Monica had been having on his family. After witnessing this painful truth, Matthew turned to face me where I stood huddled in the corner, trying to make myself as small as possible. Matthew approached me with purposeful steps, gently taking my trembling hands in his. His voice broke with sincerity as he begged for my forgiveness, acknowledging how I had brought joy and love to Logan while silently enduring such cruelty. I watched through tears as he turned to Logan, thanking his son for his bravery in protecting me and showing such remarkable strength. The scene unfolded like a dream as Matthew confronted Monica, declaring their marriage over. His voice was firm as he admitted he had ignored his friend's warnings, blinded by false love, and now deeply regretted ever meeting her. Monica's true colors showed one final time as she tried to threaten him with taking half his fortune in the divorce. I couldn't help but feel a flutter of satisfaction when Matthew revealed he wasn't as naive as she'd thought. He had protected his assets with a prenuptial agreement. He told her all she'd be taking with her was her awful personality, his words carrying the weight of final judgment. The closing of the front gate seemed to symbolically end this dark chapter of our lives, Monica's final insults carried away by the wind. Matthew wasted no time in bringing justice, submitting the security footage to the police and engaging a team of elite lawyers. My heart felt lighter knowing Monica would face consequences for her actions, as she was imprisoned for moral harassment, abuse of power, and intimidation. On a peaceful day that felt like a new beginning, Matthew approached me with an unexpected proposal. His voice mixed with gratitude and regret as he offered to cover all of my father's medical expenses. He told me about a hospital in Switzerland with world-class technology that could remove my father's tumor without risk. Tears filled my eyes as I tried to process this incredible gift, my voice trembling as I expressed my gratitude. After a moment of silence, Matthew hesitantly made another unexpected suggestion. Matthew suggested that since our first dinner together hadn't gone well, he'd like to take me out to dinner, just the two of us. My cheeks flushed pink at his unexpected words as he told me what a wonderful woman I was and how he wanted to know me better. His sincerity and the kindness he'd shown over these past few days touched my heart, leading me to accept his invitation with a shy smile. The years that followed felt like walking on a carpet of joy and happiness, our bond growing stronger through each shared experience. Our marriage came as a natural blessing of our love, with Logan playing a significant role in the ceremony and expressing pure joy at officially having me as his mother. With Matthew's support, I achieved my dream of opening my own cafe, a symbol of both my independence and our partnership. The success of the business became a testament to what we could accomplish together, strengthening our bond even further. Matthew's generosity extended to my parents when he gifted them a new home, his face beaming with genuine joy as he handed them the keys. I watched with tears in my eyes as he expressed to my father how happy he was about Dad's recovery, praising his strength and courage throughout the journey. My heart swelled as Matthew thanked my parents for raising such a wonderful daughter, declaring his love for me in front of them. Dad's eyes sparkled with emotion as he expressed his gratitude to God, Matthew, Mom, and me, his angel of light. His voice trembled with joy as he said I had saved him multiple times and that he couldn't be prouder of his daughter. Then, with a bright smile, he added how blessed he and Mom were to have such a beautiful new home and to gain such a wonderful grandson in Logan. As I embraced my parents, it felt like all the pieces of my world had finally fallen into place. I shared with them my deepest wish, to live happily with Matthew and Logan while keeping my parents healthy and well for years to come. It was a simple wish, but it carried the weight of all the love I held for my family, both old and new. We continued our lives together, grateful for each day filled with love and happiness.
If you enjoyed this story, Please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support empowers us to continue sharing inspiring stories. Don't miss the wonderful stories that will appear on your screen next. I sincerely appreciate all of you who support us. Well then, see you next time.